At first, it wasn't all that surprising, men in the media behaving badly. But then something happened. Women started speaking out. The floodgates opened, and dozens of high-profile media types came crashing down. Fox News chairman Roger Ailes was already out of his job this year when equally disturbing allegations of sexual harassment started dogging the network's star host, Bill O'Reilly.
This is crap, and you know it. It's politically and financially motivated.
Still, the New York Times reports O'Reilly settled one claim for $32 million, and Fox settled others against him for about $13 million. So when advertisers started to bail, the network cut him loose.
We are at a pivotal moment in history.
And that's the truth. In recent months, a virtual who's who of journalists have been accused of various forms of misconduct. MSNBC political analyst Mark Halperin, NPR News Chief Michael Oreskes, NPR's Garrison Keillor, WBUR's Tom Ashbrook, CBS's Charlie Rose, PBS's Tavis Smiley, the New York Times' Glenn Thrush, the New Yorker's Ryan Lizza, several magazine editors, and the biggest name of all, NBC's Matt Lauer.
He allegedly dropped his pants in front of an employee and reprimanded her for not engaging in a sexual act.
And CBS dove into the lurid details of Charlie Rose's accusers.
That 8 women are accusing the veteran journalist of harassment.
At the forefront of much of this reckoning, New York writer Ronan Farrow, who was one of the first to report details about movie mogul Harvey Weinstein's sexual misconduct, even after NBC refused to air his work.
I walked into the door at the New Yorker with an explosively reportable piece that should have been public earlier, and immediately, obviously, the New Yorker recognized that.
But no one could have possibly predicted just how far that mushroom cloud would spread. First of all, I want to say I'm glad these stories are coming out. I'm glad we finally know the truth about a lot of these people. I don't like the way they're all being handled sort of the same. Like, many of these managers, and I know this for a fact, have known for years about these people. They've known about Bill O'Reilly and other people. Let's just leave it at that. And this idea that somehow once somebody comes in with demonstrable proof that they behave this way, it's time to fire them. Hey, you should be firing yourselves. I've said this in the past. The people at NBC, you can't convince me for a second that they didn't know what was going on with Matt Lauer. And by the way, it's gone on for decades. And now some people are coming forward and saying it's very recent relationships that he had with young women. It's all very disturbing. It didn't completely go on behind closed doors. People knew about it. It was condoned because of who he is. He's a big star. So this idea that these executives are all kind of polishing their nails, saying, see, well, we took... no, you didn't. You didn't take any action. And a lot of them should have gone down with these guys.
That's a really good point. I think that, locally, the Boston Globe has been trying to figure out how to move forward after reports in their own shop about Jim O'Sullivan, the former political reporter, and other people. Editor Brian McGrory just wrote a statement, acknowledged that he should have done more today. We don't know where that's going. I don't think that there is an institution in the country, media or otherwise, that couldn't literally be brought to its knees, like in a matter of hours, by some shocking revelation that nobody had heard before. And I tend to agree that the case-by-case way of doing this is not the way to do it. I'd like to see some sort of more systematic coming to account of what's been going on, and an acknowledgement that virtually every institution has been doing it wrong for a long time, and that, we get it now, we're going to try to do better, here's what we're going to do so that we will do it better. That's what seems to be missing from all of this.
Well, you ground us to a halt. I guess we all agree with you. I am, like you, Dan, wondering what's going to transpire with the Globe in the coming weeks. As you mentioned, Jim O'Sullivan was identified by the paper, their political reporter, after a decision not to identify him, but another newsroom figure has still not been named, so we'll see what will happen there. There have been intimations about his identity in other quarters. I'm also bracing myself for what I think is inevitable in 2018 at some point, which is allegations that come out that turn out not to be legitimate and with which the press runs prematurely. I may be wrong. I mean, we've had a whole lot of people go down. It's a remarkable list that you trotted out. We've had a whole lot of people take falls, and the accusers have not yet been discredited. But I feel like it's just a matter of time until that happens, and how that plays out, whether that blunts the momentum that seems to have developed, I think is going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, look, I think you hit on the key point. There's a lot of social change in our culture that doesn't happen until it starts to hurt in the pocketbook.
Exactly.
Okay? When the advertisers start bailing on O'Reilly, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a lot of action. There are a couple of names in your piece there. Ryan Lizza. Last I heard about that, he claims the issues surrounding him involve a woman he dated, and there was no, he denies everything. Garrison Keillor's story, according to him, is pretty thin, and I haven't seen further evidence of that. But woe unbe to the organization, the New Yorker, Minnesota Public Radio, that risks the backlash of hanging in there until the truth comes out. So I agree with you. That's going to be another big story. But I hope Mika Brzezinski is right, that this is a real profound turning point. And one way in which it can be cemented as that will occur in November of the new year, when voters go to the polls in the off-year elections. If that turns out the way it looks now, with a massive outpouring of absolutely livid women punishing, for the most part, Republicans, although maybe some Democrats do, for facilitating this behavior, that'll be a message that will reverberate.
Well, first they'll have to try to figure out what to do about the guy in the top office and to manage that. So that's a piece of that. I would say that there are going to be some rough bumps. I agree with you that the people who are now dismissing some of their colleagues have known and, by the way, enabled. So I think the second level is going to be, and by the way, I think some of the enablers have been women. Some,
I agree with you.
So I think that, which very saddens me a lot. We've seen a little bit of that vis-a-vis Charlie Rose and a couple of other examples, but that's what I fear is going to come out and really hurt in 2018, and it should come out. And it's going to be rough as we try to figure out how we each address all of this. Mika Brzezinski was just this week suggesting that maybe it was wrong of the accusers of Mark Halperin who don't want to sit down and meet with him. She didn't get what that was. He wanted to give them an apology. I'll say to Mika, are you kidding me? I don't have to listen to his apology.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That doesn't work for me. You work on yourself, and then we'll talk about it later. So there's going to be.
She was criticizing them for not sitting down?
Yes, she said, this is all a part of the conversation of how do we handle each of these cases. Yes, we're going to have to look at all of them, but I have to say, some of this behavior that looks innocuous actually isn't. So we need to get back. And I've noted that when Tavis came out very strong, Tavis Smiley, and said, not me, not me, PBS came back pretty strong, which you never see, and said, oh, yeah? Well, we got some evidence to the contrary. Bring it. So we're going to see a lot of that coming up in the next months. I fear what you've said, Adam, very much, because I have nothing but disgust for women who claim rape and it didn't happen. So one of these women is going to put somebody's career and mess up the rest of this for everybody else, and I'm going to be very angry indeed.
To John's point, I think we in the media, to some extent, are treating all of these cases the same. And I know I don't want to get into trouble by quoting Matt Damon, but there is a
Matt Damon. Matt Damon needs to shut up.
There is a difference though between and you brought up two very important ones, and I'd throw Tom Ashbrook into that too. We really don't know, and yet these people have been pulled off of their program. Some of them permanently. Some of them are just in limbo. And I understand they're having something investigated, but oftentimes something is investigated and you're still allowed to do your.
And the exoneration never matches the profile of
Remember Ray Donovan?
Adam made a point. Adam made a point about Garrison Keillor. I am not a Garrison Keillor fan, to put it mildly.
No. Yeah, John.
But the pattern with these things is that when other people come forward.
Right.
No one else has come forward with Garrison Keillor. Minnesota Public Radio has not given any details about what happened.
Do we know that other people haven't come forward? They may have come forward to the people investigating.
We haven't heard about it.
We haven't heard about it.
Yeah, I get that.
Believe me, I'm not clearing Garrison Keillor, but that's a weird one.
Let me just say this. Matt Damon, shut up. It is not time for you to say anything about
I was
anything.
okay with it.
I am sorry. You sat there with Harvey Weinstein all those years. Don't you dare talk to me
All
about
right.
what's happening or not.
The non-Matt Damon, I got to get this point.
Okay.
I think the non-Matt Damon antidote to what you were talking about, Emily, is when you're reporting this stuff, be as specific as you can.
Yes.
Don't just say of a sexual nature or something. Just don't be euphemistic.
You're saying journalists need
describe
to
what
be.
yes,
Yes.
describe what the
Yes.
individual is accused
Yes.
of doing, because otherwise it's left to the imagination and people speculate.
Right. I agree
no
with that.
imagination with
I
Matt
agree.
Lauer.